Story 1. Am I the asshole? I told my daughter I don't support her decision. Am I the asshole for telling my daughter I don't support her decisions and will no longer be financially available? My daughter told me her ex is abusive and she needed out for her safety and the safety of her child. I went and got her. She lived with me for over a year rent-free and free childcare. I worked 3 jobs just to make sure we had all we needed. Now, after custody hearing, the judge gave them 50-50, and she would have to move back within 50 miles of her ex to exercise her 50-50 rights. I was willing to help her get an apartment. She had a friend looking for a roommate, and there's family in the area she could temporarily stay with until she can get her own place. She then tells me 2 weeks before the child goes back to the ex that she's moving to another state to live with her new boyfriend. I attempted talking to her about her decision, and she shut down, refusing to listen. She always has an excuse for why she can't move back so she can be there for her child. One of her excuses is that I'm always there when she needs me, so it's my fault. I told her that I am disappointed in her. I do not support her abandoning her child to a man that she says is so abusive she can't live in the same state as him. I asked her how she can excuse leaving her child with her ex without someone there to be a safe space. She has no answer. I will be here if she wants to talk, but I will not be available if she needs help getting out of this new situation. Of course, this is not the first time I've helped her. I'm her parent. I've always been there when she needs me, no matter what. But now her actions make me wonder how many lies she's told. Is her ex really the abuser? Is the relationship? I doubt that she's told me the truth, and now I wonder if she ever had. I feel like she had taken advantage of me, and that she doesn't really care about her child. Story 2. Am I the asshole for telling someone to split a hotel room at a resort? So backstory. I am attending a destination wedding, splitting a room with my BFF. She disclosed to me yesterday, another girl we grew up with is coming and plans to pay us nothing for the room. It was a $2,000 room. I find it very rude to not offer up money. This is an all-inclusive resort that you are now getting free. I plan to tell my friend this weekend that I am not comfortable with her not paying. I at least want $200 to each of us. That's even a really good deal, because if we split 3 ways, it would be $600 for her. If this means I have to cancel and not go, I am fine. I won't be used. Others first. What are your thoughts? We are all in our 30s and have jobs. You think everyone needs to pay their way. Also, I am not friends with this girl, so why should I do her a favor? Story 3. Am I the asshole for making my family uncomfortable? We live in Washington State, so almost every year we got to Leavenworth this date. Generally, it's me. 18F, my grandma, aunt, and cousin, 19 meters, all from my stepmom's side. But this year, I decided to bring my boyfriend, 19M, along. Anything. In past years, my cousin has brought his girlfriends, but with how long their relationships lasted, they were more flings than anything else. But me and my boyfriend have been together for a long time now, so I figured it was probably time he should come with me for this type of thing. We stayed in a nice hotel. Everything was going well. Even the sleep situation was easy. My cousin slept on the couch, my aunt in one bed, my grandma in another, and me and my boyfriend in the last bed. My cousin volunteered for the couch before we even got there, so we knew that wouldn't be a problem. It was all smooth. Until the second night, we stayed for 3 because with the price for the room split, it was pretty cheap. My boyfriend went to go take a shower after me and him came back from the pool. About halfway through his shower, I realized that like half of my clothes were in the bathroom, so I quickly went in and got them. The shower has glass doors, so I could obviously see him, and he could see me, but I didn't really think that was a problem until I came back out and my grandmother and cousin looked at me, disgusted, saying that I was being extremely inappropriate during a family vacation and that I was being disgusting. I have obviously seen my boyfriend naked before, and it wasn't like I went in there to have sex with him. I just wanted my hoodie. For more context on this side of the family, me and my cousin were really close as kids. If I'm being honest, probably a little too close, but I don't remember much from my childhood. My aunt is pretty cool but pretty strict, but I fucking hate my grandma on that side. I don't know why, she just drives me literally insane. The entire time after that, everybody was looking at us weird, and we just ended up going to eat dinner by ourselves at a different restaurant and ended up having a great night. But to piss off my family just that last bit, we came back to the hotel after they were supposedly asleep. Not. They were on their phones. Probably tired, but not asleep. And we woke them. And to add the cherry on top, even though me and my boyfriend kept a respectful distance while we slept, just to keep the atmosphere neutral and calm between everyone, we were still too close. I'm seriously so disappointed that our trip got turned weird by them, but I'm kinda overthinking it, wondering if maybe I was being a little inappropriate/weird. Story 4. Am I the AH for asking my roommate to pay to replace the blender jug after loaning it out without my permission? Okay, maybe I'm an AH for owning a Vitamix, but I do, and I love it. I returned from visiting family for the holidays, and I noticed the blade of my blender was severely damaged, like wavy with large burrs, and the body had 4 to 5 deep gouge marks in the plastic. I asked her about the damage, and she explained that she hadn't touched the blender, but had lent it out 2 times while I was away. I told her I wish she would have asked before loaning it out, and I suggested she give me money to replace it. $175, which is a ton of money for both of us. And she agreed. Now she is having second thoughts and doesn't think it's fair, and seems to be hinting that maybe the damage was there before she lent it out, which besides being unprovable, I feel confident that it wasn't like this before I left for the holidays. I fear that this conflict will escalate by nature of her suggesting an unprovable alternate scenario, and at the core, I just don't want her to lend out my valuables without asking. Additionally, this isn't the first thing she has damaged or broken or lost of mine, but it is the first time I've ever asked for her to replace something. This situation just kind of crossed a threshold for me, and I truly felt resolved when she took accountability and agreed to replace the damaged one. Now that she is revealing second thoughts, I feel really confused and sad and hypervigilant and insecure in my home. Story 5. Am I the AH for accepting my aunt's help? My mother opened a credit card in my name, spent money on it, and then said she would pay it but only paid the minimum payments instead of the full balance it was when I was first notified. She got mad when I reminded her, and then even more mad at me when I found out how much I owed now because of her. Almost $1,000, which she said it was only that much because of fees and stuff, and told her how much it was. I found out that she hadn't made a payment since February, and it was then December. I politely asked her to pay it off, and she blew up at me. I knew that she was having financial trouble, so I hadn't been very aggressive in reminding her and asking her about it. She then held things over my head that she pays for, and said that she should have taken them away to pay the card off. Later, she offered to only offer the partial amount to the card company and hoped that they would forgive everything. I went to my aunt for advice, because I was staying with her because my mother said she didn't want me to come home. She offered to pay off the full amount of the card, and I accepted. Now my mother is even more mad at me because the family knows what she did now. She is also saying that I don't care about her because I did this. 6. Am I the AH for not letting my wife name our dog something stupid? I'm new to Reddit, so hopefully I do this right. I, 32M, have been married to my wife Natalie, 30F, for 4 years now. We have been living together with our 2 cats, Victor and Warwick, since. The cats were mine before we got together, both of which I named after my favorite video game. Well, since Nat and I have been living together, she has been begging for a dog. Nat grew up with a golden retriever which she adored, and she had been pleading for us to get one. I was hesitant at first. I've never been much of a dog guy, and I was unsure how the cats would react to having a dog around. Well, this Christmas, as a late Christmas gift, I caved and surprised Nat with a retriever puppy. I gave her permission to name the dog anything she wanted. Bitch. She chose Bitch. She said it'd be funny, and she'd always thought naming a female dog Bitch was comical. I found it less funny. Now, not only would vets look down on us, but every Sunday Nat and I babysit the neighbor's kids, 8F and 6M. What do we say when the kids ask about the fact the dog would have a collar with Bitch on it? I thought it was stupid, and told her no. She told me I had just said she could name the dog, which is true, but I said I paid for the dog and should at least approve the name. It's our dog after all. She said I was an asshole for taking away the freedom to name the puppy. Am I the AH? Update. Thank you all for the kind words and advice. My wife ended up finding out about this post through a YouTube short, which I find funny, since I never thought this post would blow up. I am at work now, and we are trying to work it out over text, but my wife is still being pretty stubborn, and she doesn't like how people are talking bad about her on Reddit now, hoping we can reach a happy medium. Story 7. Am I the AH for refusing to see my cousin after he killed my cat? Last year, I, 19F now, celebrated my 18th birthday on January 5th. In the Philippines, this is a debut, which is similar to a quinceañera. It was a huge event for my family, especially since everyone was already together after New Year's. I had professional photos taken for the occasion, but I also wanted a special picture with my cat on the special day. I have a male orange tabby who was once a stray and is now fixed, named Tang. He's a huge part of my life, and I always keep him inside the house unless I'm with him. On my debut, I was looking for Tang to take that special photo, but I couldn't find him anywhere. I started panicking because he's an indoor cat and never goes far. I asked my cousins to help me look for him, but it was difficult as there's a lot of orange strays in the area. Eventually, my cousin, 25M, came up to me and said he had found him. He pulled what looks to be meat out of a bag and my heart dropped. I thought he had killed my cat. I completely broke down, crying and freaking out in front of everyone. As much as I hate it, both dog and cat still get butchered for meat here but hidden away from the authorities. As it turned out, my cousin was pulling a prank. What he had was actually rabbit meat to be cooked for my birthday. Rabbit meat also made me fully uncomfortable. I didn't eat that dish. It just seriously looked like a cat's anatomy, and it freaked me out. I found out that he had taken Tang to my uncle's without asking me, because my family thought Tang was getting in the way while food was being prepared for my party. I was furious. I yelled at my cousin, told him to return Tang immediately, and demanded that he leave the celebration. He left. I was upset, but I didn't let it bother me, as Tang was safe. Fast forward to this year. I didn't want my cousin at my birthday party because of what happened last year, and I made that clear to my parents. Despite this, my aunt insisted that I was being dramatic and said my cousin should be allowed to come. He showed up uninvited. I confronted him and told him again that he wasn't invited. He told me to take a joke and that it was in the past. I snapped and told him I didn't ever want to see him again. My aunt jumped in, calling me a big bitch and accusing me of being narcissistic for making my birthday about myself. Isn't it supposed to be about myself? The argument escalated until my dad and granddad stepped in. My aunt and cousin eventually left, but it didn't end there. A few days later, my aunt started posting in the family group chat, calling me rude, difficult, and selfish, that I couldn't take a joke, or that I don't know how to forgive, and that I will be sent to hell. She claims that I ruined my debut and this year's birthday celebration with my behavior. Am I the AH for refusing to see my cousin after what happened last year? Story 8. Am I the AH for refusing to let my disabled partner in a baking class use her condition to unfairly use me and gain favors from the chef? I, 19M, recently signed up for a baking class somewhere last month, and the first order of business for the head chef was to group all of us into twos. Now, no one knew the other, so it wasn't easy for people to choose partners, so the chef did a ticket raffle with everyone's name, and I ended up with Tanya, 23F, as my partner. Tanya has a disability, as she is unable to walk due to some complications, and she is on a wheelchair. I didn't have no issue looking forward to working with her, and she seemed cool at first. The first few days we just theoretical. Nothing much going on, hence I couldn't get to see more of what Tanya was as a course partner. So now we begin on one of our first practical classes. Each class is about 5 hours. So you know we are together for quite a bit of time. We are given instructions as a whole class and then set out as a group to respective stations, where work begins, such as mixing ingredients and stuff. Tanya always insisted to divide the work so as to finish faster. She usually took the critical preparations of whatever we were preparing and she mostly messed it up, meaning our final product was way below the needed standards. She would use her disability in a subtle manner to excuse her messing up the product, saying how it could be tiring to mix stuff in the position she is in, and I should just try to bear with it. So now we are always producing very shit bakes, because she refuses to let me have a hand getting the ingredients together, saying she doesn't want to seem like she can't keep up with the class and has something to prove. Out of everyone now, I'm the only one who isn't actually gaining any skills comparing to how expensive the course is, because all I'm essentially doing is cleaning up after her disastrous work and wiping surfaces. The funny thing is, our station is just next to where the chef is, and he sees all these shenanigans while doing absolutely nothing. All he does is tell her how she is doing so great for her situation, but she doesn't understand. And this made her delusional on the quality of her work and made her insist on taking up more tasks. I got fed up because I wasn't learning anything, and significant time was passing by, and I wasn't there to waste money. I spoke to the chef about the situation, asking about a separation, and he said it would be wrong to do that just because of her disability, and it wasn't right to do so. Well, I still insisted despite him. Ignoring the main issue, he gave in to my request, and now I participate in the class as an individual. Tanya made it seem like I left her alone since she is disabled, and my fellow classmates now look at me like some devil, with other coming up to me telling me my morals aren't right. Only a few agreed with my decision. Am I the AH? Story 9. Am I the AH for asking my SIL to pay her share of the bill when I used a gift card to cover most of the meal? I, 26F, and my partner, 27F, planned a birthday dinner for her father, FIL, at a steakhouse. A while back, I received a gift and a $200 gift card to this restaurant as a thank you from a contractor I work closely with, which I thought would be perfect for the occasion. During Christmas, I opened the gift with the gift card, and my SIL, 31F, was there to see me holding up the gift card. She immediately suggested we use it for FIL's birthday. I agreed, but I didn't realize she'd interpret "we" to mean she could invite her BF, recently reconciled after a year-long breakup, and go all out with their orders. A few days before the dinner, SIL asked if her BF could join. I was hesitant since he hadn't been around for a year, and the family has mixed feelings about him. My partner doesn't like conflict and said yes, so he came. At the dinner, things got awkward fast. SIL and her BF ordered the most expensive items on the menu. They both ordered surf and turf with extra lobster tail, while the rest of us ordered modestly. Their meal alone was over $150. At the end of the meal, SIL then suggested dessert, but I declined since my partner and I already bought a cake for FIL. The bill came to be approximately $300 after tax and tip. I used the gift card, but still had to pay $100 with my credit card. I asked SIL to cover her and her BF's share and split the cost of FIL's meal with me, explaining that the gift card wasn't free money for her and her BF to splurge. She got upset, said the gift card should cover everything, and stormed out with her BF. Later, my partner and I drove my in-laws home and dropped them off in awkward silence. On the way back, my partner told me I was out of line, but I feel justified since SIL's actions caused the bill to exceed the gift card's value. Am I the AH? Update 1. Thank you everyone for commenting and providing feedback in this thread. The comments here has helped me see things in a different perspective, and now will help me prevent such thing from happening again in the future. I received a call from my FEL this afternoon. The dinner was last night. He called to thank me for organizing and paying for the dinner. He also mentioned that he plans to call SIL later today to talk to her, though I'm not sure how much detail he will go into. So far, I've apologized to SIL for any miscommunication and for asking her to split at the dinner table. However, I haven't received a response from SIL, and my partner has been cold toward me. Honestly, I don't expect to get paid back. This is just a lesson for me to learn. Updates 2. This is probably my last update, and I think there's a resolution to this problem. I got a call from Sel in the evening. She apologized and Venmo'd me $100, which is better than nothing. My partner and I also had a serious discussion about their family, and I feel like there's been some progress in improving the relationship between me and their family. I've seen a lot of comments saying I have no backbone or that I'm a pushover, and that's probably true to a certain degree. Their family dynamic is still new to me, and I didn't want to make a bad impression in front of my FIL and MIL, so I held back. Unfortunately, I ended up snapping at the end. I've learned a valuable lesson to speak up for myself and not cave when things feel unfair. Quick clarification on payment. My partner and I share a joint credit card, which we use to pay for meals out. SIL has a habit of avoiding credit cards, though I've never looked into why. Typically, when dining with my partner's family, I cover the bill with our joint card, and SIL Venmos me her portion plus 50% of my in-laws' portion. That's why I asked her to cover her share and at least split FIL's cost with me for his birthday dinner. Story 10. Am I the AH for telling my neighbor her baby looks like Jeff Bezos? My neighbor had a baby, and everyone was saying how cute he is. I jokingly said, "He kinda looks like a tiny Jeff Bezos." She got mad and said I was being rude. But like, he's bald, he's serious, and I swear he's plotting world domination. She told me to never compare her baby to a billionaire again. I agreed, but Elon Musk would have been worse, right? Story 11. Am I the AH for declining my best friend's wedding gift? 29F. I'm having a Vegas wedding in August and my fiancé, 31M, and I decided to make it a weekend celebration with all kinds of activities leading up to the big day. One of the activities on the itinerary is to attend a brunch/pool party spot where you have to pay to rent cabanas and chairs. My best friend, 30F, said that as a gift from her and her boyfriend, they would rent a cabana for the 4 of us. I put gift in quotes because in my mind, when you give something as a gift, you relinquish all control over that item, and the person you gave the gift to has complete control over what they want to do with said gift. So since she said the cabana was a gift for me and my fiancé, we said that we don't mind sharing it with the rest of our guests. However, my best friend is really adamant about my other friends/guests not being able to join us in the cabana unless they pitch in some money. So I assumed if she's trying to control what we do with the cabana, then it's really our cabana, and she's just sharing with us. So I told her that I appreciate the gesture, but I'd rather rent my own cabana and share with everyone, because if I'm going to have a huge cabana anyway, I'm not going to charge my friends to sit with me. I don't mind sharing with my friends. And I get that my friend group is not affiliated with her, she doesn't owe them anything, and that's fine, which is why I told her that she can go ahead and get her own cabana and I'll just get my own that I can share. But she's arguing that her intent was not to buy her own cabana, but to buy it for me and my fiancé, and she doesn't see the point in having 2 large cabanas. Now, she seems to be pretty disappointed that I refused her gift. Am I the AH? Story 12. Am I the AH? Am I an idiot for not accept to be best man at my niece's wedding because she wants me to enter with my ex-wife? Me, 36, and my ex-wife, 34, were married for 10 years and have been separated, divorced, for 4 years because she cheated on me with one of the interns. This betrayal was a blow to me because we had built a whole future together, even without children, something that as I was sterile I could never provide her, something that had never been a problem for us until she made a point of throwing it in my face when I caught them in the act to justify herself. My whole family knew about it and stood by me in the separation except my niece, who was always very attached to both of us, and especially to her, and said that I should forgive her, and although it hurt me to dislike, I couldn't go on with the marriage. After the separation, I was able to gradually rebuild my life, and even found a new girlfriend who I will call Jane, 32, who has 2 adorable children, John, 14, and Anne, 6, and I love them as if they were mine. 4 months ago, I received the invitation to my niece's wedding and promptly accepted. Until she told me that she hoped that my ex-wife and I would be her best men at the wedding, I was shocked, and I made a point of firmly saying that I could not accept the invitation, and that if she was a bridesmaid, I would not go to the wedding, and much less enter together. She got upset and broke down crying. Now my family is telling me that I'm being too hard, and that I should do this for the sake of my niece. My girlfriend also seems guilty, and said that it would be okay for a day, but I don't think it's fair. Am I an idiot? Story 13. Am I the AH for telling my grandma's sister she should stop caring about our family and take a look at her daughters? I, 17M, live with my mom, 49F, my dad, 50M, my grandma, 79F, and little sis, 14F. Since my mom and dad work all day, grandma has decided to do the chores while me and my sis are at school. This has been going on for years. Last couple of months I've noticed she's getting a bit tired, so I finish chores after school so she can sleep a bit. That fatigue is often shown in various arguments with my mom. Grandma often takes advice from her sister, 83F, who has 2 daughters. Let's call them Jenny, 53F, and Megan, 46F, which tells her to dump as and leave for the village to live with her and her daughters. My dad always says that grandma's sister and her daughters are the worst part of our family tree, and honestly I agree. They are spoiled and really bad people that have done some immoral things to other members of their family. During a family table, my grandma moaned a bit about having to cook all alone when mom had her day off and was sleeping until noon. Sister said, "I told you to leave those ungrateful bastards. They don't appreciate what you've done for them. Yonok, my daughters, who are an example of children raised right." In this moment, I couldn't hold my anger. I stood up, looked her dead in the eye and told her, "Are you really saying this? For your information, we are all grateful of her presence, not only because she does the chores, but because she grew up my mom, me and my sibling, with values and morals unlike you and your daughters. Have you wondered why Jenny got divorced twice? Or why Megan can't even find a job? You didn't do as good of a job as you think, raising your daughters. You have no right to call us like that in our house, in our table." Dad told me to go to my room, so I left. I overheard my grandma's sister saying I wasn't raised right, but my parents defended me. After she left, Dad said I was right, and apologized for not interrupting earlier while Mom said I shouldn't have done this. I do think I did the right thing, defending my family and putting her in her place. What do y'all think? AH for telling my stepmom that she can't take my sister to soccer? So I, M18, have a little sister, F9, who's a real bookworm and often feels left out at school and things because she's often seen reading rather than playing with the other kids her age. I know that she doesn't really do anything sport-wise other than swimming, and so I find my sister knocking on my door and crying to me about her getting bullied. She's really shy and often cannot stand up to them. So this is a common scenario, and I feel really bad that I can't really do anything about it. It turns out that this time my stepmom heard, and a few days later enrolled her in soccer for the new term. There is a program at her school, even though she knows that my sister hates soccer and that if she does it at school, then she'll only get bullied more. We know because we tried a similar thing last year. So I go talk to her, tell her that she can't enroll my sister in something that she's not comfortable with, but she tells me, and I'm quoting her here, she can't hide behind books forever, and she needs to be normal, and argues that she is her stepmom and has some liberty over the choices for her stepchild, and that I shouldn't get caught between the choices she makes for my sister. Am I the AH? Edit. I do agree with those who say that my sister needs to come out of her shell. My main point was that my stepmom was forcing her to do soccer when there are many other extracurricular activities that are not connected to the school that she has shown interest in. Also forgot to add that my stepmom said this to both of our faces. Sorry for not adding that earlier. This post was written hastily and with hate. Story 15. Am I the AH for giving my 7-year-old my old Raggedy Ann doll? My son is 7 years old and autistic. He likes to sleep in the bed with his father and I. When he was younger, he was very angry and aggressive, but after therapy and changing the chaotic lifestyle we had, he's the sweetest person and very compassionate. It's really a big change. Anyways, we are encouraging him to sleep in his own room, so I gave him my doll I had since I was 2 years old. He cares for it and really likes it, and it helps him sleep in his room. My husband doesn't agree and thinks he shouldn't carry this doll around because he feels it will cause problems. Quote, I have asked him to clarify, and he said our son will go to school and tell other kids he sleeps with a doll and get bullied. Am I wrong? Am I hurting my child's development? Am I the AH? Story 16. Am I the AH for yelling at the special kid? Am I the AH for yelling at the special kid? I'm in my second year of high school and I've been having a problem with a boy since my first year. I've had problems with him harassing me, trying to hug or grab my hands, and a few times trying to kiss me. I told my school counselor last year and admin, but they always said he just likes you, or he's autistic so he can't help it. And I understand some autistic people can't and don't understand what they're doing, but I've heard him brag to his friends about how he can do whatever and not get in trouble. It really makes me mad. But it's gotten worse this year. He stopped showing. And I only know this because he brags about how he's pheromone maxing, and also because he walks and runs with his arms above his head. I mainly try not to interact with him because I know I'll get frustrated and might not be able to control myself from doing something I'd regret. But today he called me white racist trash because me and my friend were discussing slavery in Egypt. Nothing bad, like they deserved it. Now I was telling my friend that slaves were paid in food and beer in Egypt to help her with a project, yet he still screamed at me that I was white racist trash. Now my friend told him to shut up. I didn't respond because I didn't want to be in trouble, but when she did, he yelled at me that I was a coward and a R-word because I wasn't standing up for myself, and I couldn't take it anymore. I got up and yelled at him to shut it. I didn't care how he felt, and if he called me that again, I'd do something I'm not proud of. I didn't swear at him or anything, as I believe there's better ways to communicate my emotions than foul language. But after the whole ordeal, my friend only got in trouble. She was written up for telling him to shut up, and of course, again, this boy wasn't punished because he has autism and can't control himself. I don't want to seem insensitive about it, mainly because my family has all sorts of medical stuff, including autism, so I'm used to some of the stuff that comes with it, but I can't help but get frustrated when admin and the adults I'm supposed to trust tell me that it's just me that feels this way, or that they can't do anything due to his mental disability. But when I told one of my other friends, she said I was the bad apple and I shouldn't have yelled at him because he's autistic. Now I'm wondering, am I the AH? Story 17. Am I the AH for asking one of my bridesmaids not to be my bridesmaid anymore because of her situationship? I, 25F, am getting married to the love of my life in September of this year. We got engaged in July of last year and announced a date pretty quickly afterwards. Along with that, I asked my 6 closest friends to be my bridesmaids, and everyone happily said yes. One of my bridesmaids, A, 26F, has been my friend for nearly 7 years now. Last year, she got into a situationship so shitty that it started to affect our friend group because we were all so exhausted to hear about her awful man that we didn't feel like hanging out anymore. We knew that she would cry about him for the entire duration of the hangout, and we would feel bad for her and give her advice that she would go on to ignore. This summer, right after our engagement, my partner and I planned a vacation for all my bridesmaids to come on, and we spent pretty much the whole week consoling her about her situationship not working out, only for her to get back with him a few days after getting home. I talked to my other friends, and we all realized we were getting fed up with her behavior, so I decided that I would be brave and be the first to let her know. I told her everything, and also that her BF wasn't welcome at my wedding at all. She told me she wouldn't invite him because they were broken up for good, and that she understood I didn't want to hear about him going forward. During this conversation, I also asked her if she still wanted to be my bridesmaid because I felt like she was more and more distant with me, and she assured me that she really wanted to. 4 months after this conversation, she's grown even more distant, and I've learned from a mutual friend of ours and another one of my bridesmaids that it's because A has essentially started to move in with her boyfriend and has made another friend group. She also doesn't want me to find out that she has gotten back together with him, as if I'm her mother and she's hiding things from me. To me, it only shows that she knows she's not making the right decisions but doesn't want to admit it. This has left me pretty jaded. It feels like she's moved on to another group that validates her relationship, and I feel a bit icky inviting her into the backstage of my big celebration of love when she'll barely reply to my texts anymore. Additional context. She told one of our friends that she couldn't rejoice when the news of my engagement dropped because my happiness reminded her that her relationship was not working out well. That was back in July, but it still stings. Also, I can't imagine why she would tell our mutual friend and think I wouldn't hear about it. Still, I feel like taking away the bridesmaid role would sign the end of our friendship, and I am not ready to say goodbye to her, but I also feel like I put in a lot more effort in our friendship in the last year and a half while she's moving on to other things and people. Would I be an asshole if I did that? Story 18. Am I the AH for not moving home? I, M28, Have been living downtown for the past year with my girlfriend. My parents recently just accepted a new job in Florida, which will require them to move down to Florida. However, my sister currently lives with them. Knowing that my parents will be moving to Florida, my mom asked my girlfriend and I if we can move into their current house and stay with my sister, F23, until she graduates college next January. I have a good relationship with my sister, however, she is very loud, messy, and has a tendency to be rude. On top of that, she has a dog that she just doesn't take care of. I feel like this will just cause my girlfriend and me a lot of added stress. Am I the asshole for declining not to move home? Story 19. Am I the AH for subtly calling out my coworker for believing nonsense conspiracy theories? A little bit of background. I have this coworker I have been working with for around 2 months now. We work in a call center. We often engage in random chats in the little breaks we take between calls, often about anything really. Movies, science, politics, sports, or anything like what you may casually speak to your coworker about. But after only a few conversations, I realized that my coworker, let's call John, is really deep into many conspiracy theories, like everything. I'm talking flat earth, fake moon landing, Hitler was painted out to be the villain, 9/11 was an inside job, etc. And even though I basically disagree with him on all of these, I'm always willing to hear him out. Mind you, I usually just nod my head and say something along the lines of, "That's pretty interesting, John." The problem is, anytime I give John some slight pushback on the things he's saying, he always shuts me down in 3 main ways. First, he'll say, "I'm too young to have a good opinion on these things because I'm 23. Take into account John is only 33, but acts as if he has the wisdom of a 80-years-old Buddhist monk. Second, he'll resort to saying I can't have a good opinion on things like the flat earth, for example, because I got my degree in IT. Therefore, I am not qualified to speak on matters of physics or biology. An obvious logical fallacy he is making. You don't need to have a doctorate in physics to know reasonably well that the earth isn't flat. Mind you, John also doesn't have a degree in physics, but talks as though he does. And lastly, he'll always assume his opinion is superior to mine, as in his own words, everything he talks about he has done at least 3 months worth of research on, which I highly doubt he has on most of the things he speaks of. He'll often assume I know nothing of the topics we speak of, saying something along the lines of, "I know you haven't done as much research on this as me." How he has this knowledge, that he has always done more research than me, I still don't know. Today, near the end of work, that brings up the idea of LeBron James cheating on his wife and how we know he has. To which I simply said, "No, we don't know that, and you shouldn't talk as if that's some sort of fact." To which he retorted, "Oh yeah, I forget you live in a fantasy world where you believe everything the mainstream media feeds you." To which I retorted, "Oh yeah, and I forgot you believe anything that you see online that goes against the grain." To which he got visibly upset and said that maybe we shouldn't talk if that's my perception of him after these past few months. Then proceeded to not talk to me for the last 10 minutes of his shift, then walked out. I'm hoping he doesn't hold on to this and just speaks to me normally at work tomorrow, but if he is going to give me the silent treatment and act like a child over a tame comment, I am certainly not going to apologize for anything. Am I the AH for calling him out for some of the foolish conspiracies he believes in, or is he being totally unreasonable? Story 20. Am I the AH for not making my dad a sandwich? I, 15F, come home from school every day at 3 p.m. and have the rest of the day to do whatever I want. My stepdad, 54M, whom my mom has been married to for 5 years, comes home from work around 5 to 6 p.m. Recently, there's been a lot of tension between us, and today it escalated when he went to my mom to snitch about everything, which in turn got her pissed at me, and it put a lot of pressure on me because she's siding with him. Here's the situation. He asked me to make him a sandwich, which wouldn't be the first time. He literally shouted, "Name, come make me a sandwich." But I said no because I was in my room doing schoolwork. My reasoning is that I don't want to feel like I'm babying him. My mom always cooks for him, and he never does anything for himself around the house. Honestly, having to cook for him feels sexist and kind of demeaning, though I know some people might call me woke or sensitive for feeling that way. It just rubbed me the wrong way. This isn't just about the sandwich though. Over time, whenever I say no to him, even for small things, he insults me. He's called me a brat, a pig, a bitch, childish, whatever. It makes me question why I should respect him if he doesn't show me any respect in return. And honestly, the insults make things worse. It's also the hypocrisy that makes me not want to listen. He calls me a pig because I sometimes leave a dirty dish or two in the sink, or if the house isn't clean. But then, when he comes home, he leaves his own dirty dishes from lunch in the sink without cleaning them. These dishes can get really gross because they've been carried around all day, but he won't do anything about it. When I call him out on it and say something like, "Hey, maybe clean your dishes," he just says, "Why don't you do it?" And it gets worse. If he actually does something like clean a dish, he looks to my mom for praise, as if he's done some grand favor. He starts saying things like, "I do more around here than Name does." It's really frustrating, to say the least. So am I the AH. Story 21. Am I the AH for closing my doors to a friend that is visiting from out of town? I, 35F, live with my 2 indoor dogs in a 3-bedroom house, and my brother stays in one of the spare bedrooms every now and then. An old friend of the family and his wife with 3 kids will be coming to town in the next couple of weeks. They will stay for 3 days and asked me to accommodate them because I have the space. I declined, stating that I do not have guest bedrooms and that they are used for both office space and my brother's personal space. He has all his stuff in the one room. They were pushing to stay at my house regardless, saying they can sleep in my living room, stating their kids can sleep on my sectional and they can bring an inflatable mattress. I declined again, stating that my dog's crates are in the adjacent dining room area and that they wouldn't sleep well with strangers in their immediate space, and I get up at 6 a.m. every morning to take them out and feed them, etc. They got mad, saying that I have always been welcome at their home. I've never gone to stay with them, and that this really hurt their feelings. Now, I've gotten a couple of comments from other friends in common saying that I could have let them stay, and that I was being selfish for not moving my dog's crates to another room, and that changing the routine for 3 days would have not killed me. Story 22. Am I the AH getting a stay-away order from an unstable family member? My husband and I have been trying to purchase my grandmother's house for the last 5 years. I've lived there with my children for over a decade and cared for her before her passing in late 2023. My grandmother was adamant she wanted us to buy the home, but a previously filed trust agreement prevented her from legally being able to sell it to us. Upon her death, the trust was converted into half ownership between my aunt and mom. We moved ahead with a promissory note for my mom's half and became half owners. Now, the house is in rough shape, and my husband and I have spent thousands of dollars and hundreds of man-hours to make it livable. We have been paying every utility bill and keeping up with all maintenance and repairs. We have never asked my aunt, or anyone for that matter, for a dime, and did it happily to help my grandma. My aunt, who has long hated my mom, and me by extension, has now sued us for an amount much greater than the total value of the home and has been uncooperative and unreasonable with us and our attorney. We finally came to an agreement, and she was forced to attest to the judge she would sell it for more than $60,000 over her appraised half, appraised by an appraiser that her lawyer hired. In the interim, we are footing the insurance, which isn't easy due to the state of the house, and paying the back taxes that were never paid, as we are working with our mortgage to get this loan closed. Throughout the last 5 years, she has sent several threatening texts and likes to only come by the house when my husband and I are not home, and our 2 children are. She forced us to allow her daughter, my cousin, to move into our first floor, split level, for a year while we fronted the cost, and then it was left in an unlivable condition that my husband and once again paid to restore out of our own pockets. My aunt has a long history of suing people, besides us, and is not mentally stable. Once the house is solely in our name, we don't trust that she won't come on our property when we're not home and do something malicious. It has taken such a toll on us that we have considered throwing up our hands and trying to find a different home, but with a divorce decree with my ex-husband, we need to stay within their current school district. She is a chronically single, 70-something retiree who could move anywhere in the world. We want to get a stay-away order to stop her from being able to come on our property, but some other family members believe it's unnecessary and we are overreacting. We honestly don't trust her, and our kids are worried, so we feel it is absolutely necessary. AITA for moving ahead with it? Story 23. Am I the AH if I haven't spoken to my cousin in a week and a half? Hey guys, my cousin 19F and I 20F are extremely close. We tell each other everything. We've watched each other grow up. I love her to death. However, I feel as though as she has gotten older, so have I. She has just been using me when her friend is busy, just to say, I don't really have friends. I didn't really stay in contact with my high school friends, which has ended me in a place where I only hang out with my cousin. We have a big group. Usually it's my brother and I, twins, my older cousin 22M, my cousin 19F, and her sister 14F. Whenever we go out, it's this group. I feel recently she doesn't try to make time to go out with us. If we say let's go for dinner next week, she'll make an excuse like, it's my day off, or I have work. Even though the work day in question, she still goes to raves with her friends, still goes to her house, but won't even make time for a dinner with us, or even tell us another time when she's free to hang out. Sometimes, which makes me so mad, she'll just stay quiet and won't say anything when one of us makes an idea to go for dinner or go out for drinks. Also, a couple of weeks ago, she was regularly asking me to go to the beach, go with her shops, ask for a sleepover at my house, which I of course said yes because I like all those things and I only have her to go out with, one-on-one. However, I realized she was hanging out with me so much was because her friend was in another state with her family. Now that she's back, she hasn't asked to hang out or anything. I feel it's giving me the idea she's using me to hang out, or am I just crazy? I don't know. So, we were supposed to go on a cousin's cruise this week with the group I mentioned. However, she canceled because she said her work won't let her take off, but now booked a last-minute trip to Melbourne with her friend. What really made me mad is not the Melbourne thing. Who am I to tell her where not to go? It's when we asked to go for dinner, and she said, I have work. Guys, I am telling you right now, she always goes out on that day after work with her friend, but can't even go out with us. I just don't get it. Is she embarrassed of us? Does she not like it anymore? Are we ugly that we don't fit her reputation? I don't know. That's when I just had it with her and haven't spoken to her in a week and a half. She messaged me 2 days ago when she was drunk. Where are you? I miss you. And she FaceTimed me, but I didn't answer. Of course I wasn't going to answer. She was off her head drunk. I texted her, don't text me when you're drunk. Call me tomorrow morning. I haven't received any call from her, and I've not opened any snaps on any group chat from her. Like, look, it's her life. I am not going to tell her what she can and can't do. It's just, why do you not want to make time for us or even me to hang out, and you only make time when your friend is busy? So, am I the AH for not speaking to her for a week and a half? JS, my anger justified. Story 24. Am I the AH for telling my wife I won't hang out with her sister and affair partner? I, 26M, have been married to my wife, Sarah, 26F, for 5 years. My wife has a sister, Chelsea, 30F, with whom she's incredibly close with, and they pretty much talk every day. The three of us, and Chelsea's husband, Ryan, 30M, used to spend a lot of time together, going on double dates and hanging out as couples. About a year ago, everything changed. It was revealed that Chelsea was having an affair with a guy named Doug, 35M. This came as an incredible shock to me, as we hung out so much as couples. Ryan took the cheating pretty hard and confided it in me how hurt he was for her stepping out on him. Honestly, I was devastated for the guy, and I felt a lot of anger about how everything had played out. My wife insists she did not know that her sister was having an affair. However, given how close she and Chelsea are, I have my doubts. Her and Ryan eventually divorced, and Chelsea has been with Doug ever since. Despite everything that happened, my wife and Chelsea have continued their close relationship, going to brunches and spas together, just as they did before. However, when my wife first brought up the idea of doing a couples activity with Chelsea and Doug, I made it clear that I didn't want to participate. I still think it's messed up how Chelsea cheated on Ryan, sneaking around behind his back for so long, and then acting like nothing happened. My wife says the marriage is over now, and it is time to accept Doug as part of the family. When Chelsea brought up the idea of going on a couples trip with her and Doug, I reiterated to my wife that I didn't want to hang out with her sister and her affair partner. My wife got upset, asking why I was harping on this and how it didn't affect me. I told her it did affect me because Ryan was hurt deeply by what Chelsea did. He trusted her, and she betrayed him in the worst way. Sarah said I couldn't judge their relationship because I didn't know what it was like. Sarah then told me that she still loves her sister and isn't going to abandon her because of the affair. I told her I wasn't asking her to stop talking to Chelsea. I just didn't want to be expected to hang out with Chelsea and Doug as a couple. Story 25. AITA for declining to fix the errors I made in a blanket I crocheted for someone and taking it back instead? I made a blanket for my sister-in-law Amanda. I was able to give it to her last weekend. She'd asked for it in certain colors. I didn't have any other projects on my to-do list, so I was happy to make it for her. I had most of the colors already too, so it worked out. When I gave it to her, she was excited, and she started to look it over. I figured it was to see how it was put together, since she doesn't crochet. After a little bit, she said that she loved the blanket. She couldn't help but notice some of the little mistakes I'd made along the way. I asked her what she meant, and she pointed out some things like I'd accidentally done 1 row of striping instead of 3 for one section, I'd switched to the wrong color and threw off a pattern at some point, etc. She handed it back to me and told me that she loves my progress with it and couldn't wait to see the finished project. I told her that it was finished. She looked down at it and said that it wasn't done until it was perfect, and I'd made several mistakes that I could easily go back to correct. I was honestly dumbfounded by this. Now, I hate the way perfectionists try to force their quirk onto others. I made this blanket for her for free, out of my own free time, because I love her. I told her that. She said she knows, and she loves me for it, but that she wouldn't be able to use it, because she wouldn't be able to focus on anything but the mistakes. I said whatever, and took the blanket back, and said that if she doesn't want it, I'll keep it. She looked surprised and said that she does want it, she just wants my best work and not something half-assed. I told her that if she thinks me crocheting a whole fucking blanket and making minimal errors is half-assing it, I'd rather just keep the blanket. She's so upset with me and told me I was acting ridiculous and that it wouldn't take me long to fix it. If you know anything about crochet, you know that if I made an error on row 36 of 1115 row blanket, that's essentially starting over again. Anyway, I come to you all low AITA. Story 26. Am I the AH for refusing to let my roommate's cat into my room after it apologized? I, 27F, share an apartment with my roommate Lily, 26F, who has a cat named Muffin. Muffin is adorable but has a habit of sneaking into my room and knocking things over. Last week, I came home to find Muffin had somehow gotten in and destroyed a puzzle I had spent hours working on. Pieces were scattered everywhere, some were chewed up, and one was lost entirely. I was furious. I told Lily that Muffin needed to stay out of my room, and she agreed, but she also said Muffin felt bad and wanted to apologize. I laughed it off, assuming she was joking. The next day, I found a little note on my desk written in Lily's handwriting that said, "I'm sorry, Muffin." Along with it was a cat treat. I thought it was funny but didn't change my stance. Since then, Lily has been passive-aggressively saying things like, "Muffins just try to make things right," or, "You're holding a grudge against a cat." She even suggested that I let Muffin into my room supervised so she can earn back my trust. I told her no, and that I wasn't interested in giving her cat another chance to destroy my stuff. Now she's calling me heartless for not accepting Muffin's apology and is acting like I'm being unreasonable. AITA here? Story 27. Am I the AH for telling my teenager that they can't have a birthday dinner today as they chose not school because of a rash? My teenager turned 16 today. They are also autistic. This morning they came out complaining about a rash from shaving, stating that it hurt too much to have air blow on it or cloth against it, and therefore they weren't going to school. I gave them a few hours and tried again. They still wouldn't go. Gave it a few more hours, same result. Now it's too late to go to school. So I told them to text their friends and tell them that the dinner party at a mid-price restaurant is off. Now they and their sibling, 21, are calling me an asshole. I feel like if I let them have the dinner out tonight, after they called out of school, is rewarding a negative behavior. If they were diabetic and had to go to the ER because of a low blood sugar, then were released, I still wouldn't let them go out to a dinner. Not that they'd feel up to it then, I imagine. So is this just me being a good parent or me being an asshole? Edit. I'm still going to give them their birthday card/gift tonight. I haven't decided if the makeup dinner would be here or at the original restaurant on a later night. Edit 2. They used to chew the collars off of their school uniform shirts because they didn't like the feeling of the fabric against their neck. So when they showed me that they did indeed have a raised/red rash from shaving that was too painful for school, I agreed to let them stay home. I gave them medicated creams/lotions for the rash. I checked in on them several times throughout the day to see if they were feeling better. If the rash is the reason that you are staying home from school at 0830, 1100, and 1300, then it's also the reason that you aren't going out to dinner at 1700. Clarification of Edit 2. Using the shirt collar chewing as an example of understanding that they do have sensory issues. The rash is not on the neck, and also showing that by offering to let them stay home/offering medications throughout the day to show that I understand that the sensory issues can lessen with a little time, as could have the rash. Clarification 3. It is a known rule in our household that if one is too much of something to go to school that day, then one is not allowed to do fun events the rest of that day. That expectation as a consequence was reiterated each time that they were checked on and asked about whether or not they wanted to go to school. To have to explicitly state that feels really weird. Story 28. Am I the AH for refusing to work on the house that my girlfriend bought? My girlfriend's aunt passed away about 2 weeks into our relationship. 2 months later, she put an offer on the house. Her aunt was a drug addict and a hoarder. There is nicotine on the walls, and we removed a lot of stuff out of the house. Now, the interior of the house needs work. Her mom and her mom's boyfriend have been doing a lot of work on the house. Basement. My girlfriend started to drive 30 minutes from her job to the house to help. She is expecting me to do the same every day after work. I don't want to. I don't have the mental capacity to go work after working my regular job for 8 hours and then work on the house all weekend. My job is also 30 minutes from the house. Thus, the house is not even officially hers. Her loan is still pending. I am going to get burned out quickly from my job, the house, and our relationship if my working on the house every night. My girlfriend is trying to guilt trip me into coming every night by saying how her mom and her mom's boyfriend are doing this for free, and how I'm just sitting there. They don't work a full-time job. I'm grateful for their help, but I don't want to work every night right after work. AITA for refusing to work every night after work? Edit. I have told my girlfriend I am willing to help Thursday night after work, Friday night after work, and all day Saturday and Sunday. She still thinks that's not enough. Story 29. Am I the AH for protecting my best friend's niece who recently lost a baby? I, 43F, have had the same best friend, 43F, since we were in kindergarten. We'll call her Rose. Needless to say, over the years, her and her family have become my family. A few weeks ago, her niece, we will call her Megan, 24F, unexpectedly and very suddenly experienced the passing of her baby that was only a month old. My birthday is coming up soon, so I extended the invitation to Megan. I was hoping that having a night out with friends would give her an opportunity to have a distraction. I told her that it was completely up to her, of course, but she was more than welcome to join us. Given that many people in our friend group have had questions and curiosity surrounding the passing, I included a warning to the guests that discussion about the baby, and of course his passing, was off limits. I approved the message with Rose before posting it. It reads, "Hey ladies, for my birthday on the 25th, we're having dinner at local restaurant, probably around 5 p.m., then to local bar for a bit afterwards. Just so you know, Megan will be there and I'd appreciate everyone respecting her privacy. Discussion about the baby is off limits. We're there to have fun, and I truly want her to be able to do that by any means necessary, as much as it is possible. Let me know in the next week or so if you'll be able to make it so I can give a head count for a reservation." This message caused one friend to call me crying because she thought it was directed at her, and she was offended that I would think she'd do such a thing, necessitating a warning post. I explained that Megan is understandably very fragile right now, and I was just trying to assure that no one said anything to upset her. This friend understood after our chat, and everything was fine. About 24 hours later, another friend, who was honestly more the target of my post, due to the fact that she was asking me questions at an event we had recently attended together while Rose and Megan were not present, left the group chat and deleted me from social media. So, am I the a-hole for feeling the need to post a warning to protect Megan? Story 30. Am I the AH because I think my daughter should get what she wants for breakfast? My F44, dad, 68, has always been frugal. His frugality has served him well. He has a beautiful home, savings. He's been retired for over 10 years, multiple rental properties, etc. Recently, my daughter, 15, and I drove up from Phoenix to visit him over the weekend. Typically, my dad cooks breakfast every morning. On this particular morning, he didn't feel like it and told us we were going out to breakfast. This is a little unusual since he does not like to eat out due to the expense. He took us to a local diner type place and we all ordered. My daughter ordered the chicken fried steak. I heard my dad mumble something like, "The things you order." I thought he was just referring maybe to the portion size since my daughter is so small, but it didn't seem like a big deal at the moment. We all ate. My daughter ate all of her food. We both said thank you before and after our meal, and we're very appreciative. Later on that day, while I was cleaning out his refrigerator, my dad says, "I can't stand it anymore," gets out of his recliner, and comes into the kitchen with us. He then goes into how our lack of manners needs addressing. He has this rule of etiquette that says that if someone invites you to a meal out, you should never order anything more expensive than the person that's paying. I think it's rude to put that responsibility on a guest. Of course, moderation in all things, for instance. I think it's rude if I took someone out to dinner and they order a bunch of drinks for themselves or an outrageously priced meal. But this was chicken fried steak at a diner, not a magnum of champagne. Story 31. Am I the AH for not hiding tampon trash at work? I started my period earlier today while at work. No big deal. I put in a tampon and threw the wrapper and applicator into the mostly empty, medium-sized trash can, no lid, without thinking twice about it. Then I just got back to my job. 2 hours later, the only other woman on this floor came into my office and told me I had left the tampon wrapper and applicator out in the open and that anyone could see that. She also said, "I need to be more discreet because it is a mixed bathroom." I immediately thought her comment was rude, but a friend pointed out she might have thought she was helping by letting me know. Still, I don't think there's any need to hide perfectly normal trash. If it were an actual used tampon, I would wrap it for sanitary and smell reasons. But this was just small bits of plastic in the trash can. I grew up in a house full of sisters, and my fiance is very chill about menstruation. I've heard of men being weird about periods, but I've never personally experienced it. Another friend suggested I go to HR to make a statement and verify what's expected, but I feel like that's over the top. I'm more inclined to just fume about it for the rest of the day and move on without changing how I throw away things. TLDR. I don't hid my tampon wrapper and applicator in trash at work. 2. Am I the AH for declining my sister's wedding due to poor guest accommodations. My sister announced her engagement a few months ago. Together. She has only been dating the guy for 9 months at that time. I have only met him twice. My sister wants everyone to go to Florida so they can get married on a cruise ship, then go on a cruise with folks that are willing to the following day. As someone who is unable to cruise and who hates all travel, this is extremely problematic for me. She scheduled the wedding for a Monday. This means I would have to take 2 days off of work to attend. She scheduled the wedding outside of our home state so she could get married on a boat, meaning I will need to spend $500 on plane tickets and even more on a hotel to get there. She did not, and still has not, directly send me an invite. She told my grandparents I could help with transportation for them, since I am the only family member with driver's license and without kids to support, and I got a call from my grandpa asking me to help him with transportation before I even knew there was a wedding. Not only that, but because my grandpa is on dialysis, I will need to stop at a hospital at least once both ways for him to get the care he needs. I feel since this is her wedding, it is her job to find proper care for our grandparents, and that she can't pawn it off on me. This also makes me feel like I can't go to the wedding without being guilted about not wanting to help them. I am autistic and eat a strict diet at very strict times. I have been informed the cruise ship will not allow me to bring any homemade food on board, and I will only be able to select food from a small menu which does not meet my needs. If she valued my grandparents being at her wedding, she would have the reception near their hometown. If she valued the rest of us being there, she would have it in the state we all live. I feel like it's okay to decline given she is having what is essentially a destination wedding. Am I the AH? Story 33. Am I the AH for telling my wife I need her to back up my parenting? I, 29M, have 3 kids. Now, my oldest daughter will be 5 in April, my son is 3, and I have a newborn daughter who is 2 weeks old right now. My oldest, let's call her Alice, has always preferred me, a daddy's girl, since the very beginning. She was a bit jealous when her brother was born, but ultimately was too little to really understand, and it just kind of blew over. This time, not so much. Ever since the baby came home, Alice has been attached to my side, literally and figuratively. Monsters always appear in her closet whenever I'm taking care of the baby, monsters that only I can get rid of. Apparently, I'm magic that way. Alice wants to be carried everywhere and won't go to sleep unless I rock her in the rocking chair. When she woke up one morning and saw me giving the baby a bottle, she got upset and tried to shove her way onto my lap. I asked my wife for help with the situation. I explained that I don't want to be bad cop every time Alice is clinging to me or demanding something, like the carry me tantrums. So I'd really appreciate it if she'd back me up, a verbal warning, or helping me remove Alice from my leg. She got mad at me for this. She said that she's got a lot on her plate already, doesn't think she needs to get involved in this, and that we don't need to make a fuss over a phase that's going to go away eventually. Apparently, she thinks I should just handle this myself for now. Am I the AH for asking my wife to back up my parenting? Story 34. Am I the AH? I'm 17F and got detention for not letting a 14F sit on my lap? So, I'm 17F and I stand at around 5 feet 4-ish. My best friend, 17M, stands at 6 feet 0-ish, and we normally ride the bus together after school on days when my older brother can't pick us up. My bus is normally overcrowded, and people tend to bring their friends on my bus, which causes it to be more overcrowded than normal. One of the girls who rides on my bus got on a bit late, and there wasn't any seats left on the bus. The guys in the back tried to tell her to sit on the floor, when the bus driver told her to sit with me and my friend. I have crippling anxiety, and physical touch isn't something that works well with my brain, unless I'm my best friend. I've heard people suggest that this girl is autistic, but me and my friend don't have room in our seat, especially when we have backpacks on too. The assistant principal gets on and suggests that this girl sits in my lap. She's a stranger, and also 14. That's weird, and I'm not comfortable with that, and neither is my friend. We both say no, and end up getting kicked off the bus, and we both got detention. But did I really make the wrong decision telling the assistant principal that I don't want a random 14-year-old sitting on my lap? Why couldn't they have asked somebody else to let her sit in their lap? I don't think anyone would have said yes. And does that mean they'd give our entire bus detention? I'm happy with the decision I made, but I've been feel like I made the wrong choice, and now I'm unsure. Should I have let her sit? Was I the asterisk times whole?